It seems like they're going to lose this whole situation in Norway, and it's already costing them money. And this is what the Jehovah's Witnesses understand. They understand, like, that's when they feel it, when they lose money. The Jehovah's Witnesses have held for decades that excommunication is biblical, even though it was a flip-flop from their earlier beliefs. If something's right, it's right. If something's wrong, it's wrong. The Jehovah's Witnesses have a very long history of flip-flopping. How does something that is once biblical and once scriptural become unscriptural? What up, y'all? This is Sunny. So in my last video, I talked about how eventually the Jehovah's Witnesses, I believe that they're going to make a change where they do away with the disfellowshipping and the shunning policy. I talked about how there have been a lot of changes lately in the Jehovah's Witnesses organization, and I talked about how these changes, they happened not because of anything having to do with Jehovah's, quote unquote Jehovah's, or any higher powers, Holy Spirit. They happen because of revenue. They happen because of dollar signs. But I think that the question becomes, what's the significance of that fact? What's the significance of the fact that I believe that any big changes like those that have been happening lately and that might come in the future are based on the organization's financial interests? Well, I think that the significance of that fact is that it says a lot about the actual organization when they inevitably do end their disfellowshipping and shunning policy, because that's coming. I believe that that's coming with all the publicity that's happening, and it seems like they're going to lose this whole situation in Norway, and it's already costing them money. And this is what the Jehovah's Witnesses understand. They understand, like, that's when they feel it, when they lose money. And the fact that down the line, I believe that they will do away with their shunning and disfellowshipping policy. And I believe that it will be because of their financial interest. That says a lot about the organization. If something's right, it's right. If something's wrong, it's wrong. The Jehovah's Witnesses have held for decades that excommunication is biblical. As wrong as we know that it is, this is something that the Jehovah's Witnesses have held as biblical, even though it was a flip-flop from their earlier beliefs. They've held this as being true and biblical. And when they do change, just like they held that turning in time cards was the right thing to do. And not wearing beards was basically something that was scriptural. How does something that is once biblical and once scriptural become unscriptural? The Jehovah's Witnesses have a very long history of flip-flopping, and when they do, as I said, when they do inevitably flip-flop on the disfellowshipping and shunning policy, this is going to tell you everything that you need to know about that organization. Because, as I said, these big organizational changes happen because of the revenue that it could potentially bring into the organization. So, how are you gonna react if you're someone who right now is disfellowshipped, or you voluntarily left the organization, and now the Jehovah's Witnesses are saying that you're welcome back into the organization, even as a disfellowshipped person, even as a disassociated person? You're welcome to interact with your friends. You're welcome to interact with your loved ones who are still Jehovah's Witnesses, whom you haven't spoken to in all these years, perhaps decades. How are you going to react? I can tell you personally that I would love to be able to speak to my old homies, all of my old friends who are still Jehovah's Witnesses, who still believe. That's going to be pretty cool. I'll get to see my old friends and everything, but ultimately, the point is that it's going to underscore what I already know about that organization. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. It doesn't have anything to do with God or some higher power or adhering to some religious standards so that you can live forever in paradise on earth or be one of the chosen few that goes to heaven. The Jehovah's Witnesses organization, it's all about the money. There's a reason why certain expressions stick, right? Money is the root of all evil. Right? You go back and you watch some of the videos that Jehovah's Witnesses put out where they're begging for money, and where they're saying that even if you have nothing, you still have a responsibility to give to this organization. Tony Morris has a very infamous video where he talks about that very fact. Even if you have nothing, you still have a responsibility to give to this organization. It's all about the money. And it's like that. It's like, I can tell you guys that there's certain things about the Jehovah's Witnesses organization that tell me that it's wrong. That tell me that it's wrong without question, right? And one of those is the fact that they're so desperate for this money, their love and their lust for money, for funds, for taking funds from their members, even though their members have absolutely nothing. Most, I won't say most because I don't know, but many Jehovah's Witnesses have absolutely nothing. They barely have enough money to take care of themselves. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, they want whatever it is that these ones who have absolutely nothing can give. And so, again, when they inevitably do change and dissolve their policy of shunning and disfellowshipping, they're going to say to you that it's out of love. Isn't this a loving provision that Jehovah has done to do away with the shunning and do away with this fellowshipping and allow these ones, back into the congregation where they can receive help and fellowship from their family and their old friends? Isn't this a loving provision? It's not loving. It's not loving because it's not done out of love. When this change inevitably does come down, it's done because of what that governing body, how they feel like they can benefit. Because think about it. Let's go deep into this. I'm drinking tonight, y'all. So we're going to go deep into this, y'all. Think about, because the thing is, we know that that governing body, they know, and pardon me for being as blunt as I'm about to be, but that governing body knows how stupid their followers are, right? They know how dumb the rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses are, and they know that these rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses will believe anything. So they're going to try to pass this off as something that is loving. And think about the talks that are going to happen. Like, when you think about how they might spin this, because the Jehovah's Witnesses, to anybody who's on the outside, the Jehovah's Witnesses tactics are obvious. They will talk about how this is such a loving provision, and they'll follow that up with an entreaty for funds. Ask yourself, how much would a disfellowship Jehovah's Witness who wants so desperately to have more than anything else in life, to have access to their son or daughter or their cousin or their sister, to be able to interact with them, how much would that person be willing to pay for that privilege? How much would that person be willing to donate for that privilege, right? And so I promise you that the Jehovah's Witnesses governing body, they are not above those types of tactics. When they inevitably do dissolve the disfellowshipping and shunning policy, putting out a talking about how this is such a loving provision, and then following such a talk up with an entreaty for donations. That's how it's going to happen. And so, I don't know, like I said, this is just life. We're just living. You and me, we just happen to be ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Down the line, like, the Jehovah's Witnesses will dissolve their shunning and disfellowshipping policy. And when they do, I'm going to be very happy to be able to interact with my old friends in the Jehovah's Witnesses organization. I'll tell you guys this. I live in a particular neighborhood right now, And I know that some of my oldest friends in the Jehovah's Witnesses organization, they still live in the same territory that I do. And so it's only a matter of time before they come knocking on my door, right? I haven't spoken to them in over 10 years. And I'm in their congregation's territory right now. I don't think they've moved. And it's only a matter of time before they come knocking on my door. And I'm going to be so glad to be able to talk to them. I don't see myself going into that organization, going into the Kingdom Hall, but just being able to speak with them, to talk with them about how things have gone for these last 10, 15 years. That's going to be pretty cool. I'm not here to tell you that when the disfellowshipping policy is dissolved, that you should just still stay away from the Jehovah's Witnesses. It have nothing to do with them. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm just here to tell you that the Jehovah's Witnesses organization, they have a lust for funds. And the fact that they're willing to adjust their policies doesn't have anything to do with them have receiving direction from any sort of higher power. We're here for a limited time, and we're just trying to live. We're just trying to find some happiness that we can hold on to. That's all that I'm trying to do. So at any rate, I think that's about it. Been a hard week, but bought a new plant. That was pretty cool. Hung out with one of my old friends. Actually, not one of my old friends, one of my new friends. We're just out here living. Anyways, I'm going to call it good for now. Y'all take it easy, and I'll talk to you in the next one, probably pretty soon. Peace.